Here is a number the Dallas Mavericks never announced: $50,760,000. That's what the team agreed to pay for 20 acres of land where it wants to build its next arena. Not the whole site, 20 acres. The county appraises the same ground at $19.7 million. And here's a second one. Every month starting in June, the team pays $169,200 just to hold the option open. Next year, that payment rises to $274,950. None of it is refundable. If they walk away, the money's gone. The team did not tell you any of that. You know it because a real estate investment trust that owns about a fifth of the dirt is a public company, and public companies have to file. And according to his own petition, that filing is also how the man who still owns 27% of the Dallas Mavericks found out what his own team was doing.
You know, it can be abusive a lot. You know, you can any of
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, you know, if fans don't like what you're doing or the team's not doing well, you're the worst human being on the planet, and they treat you that way.
Do you have any regret?
I don't regret selling. I regret who I sold to. Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes in the process.
To see why that matters, go back to December 2023. Mark Cuban had owned the Mavericks for 23 years. He sold majority control to Miriam Adelson and her son-in-law Patrick Dumont at a valuation of about $3.5 billion, and he kept roughly 27% for himself. The Adelson and Dumont families made their money at Las Vegas Sands hotels and casinos, and on approval day, Cuban explained the logic himself. He said it was a partnership. They were not basketball people, and he was not a real estate person. That was the trade. He gave up control of the basketball team and expected a seat at the real estate table. 2.5 years later, the real estate arrived. The question is whether the seat did. On the 1st of June this year, the Mavericks announced they were leaving downtown Dallas. The site is the Old Valley View Mall, near Preston Road and the LBJ Freeway, about 104 acres, roughly 11 miles north of the American Airlines Center, where the team has played since 2001 and where its lease runs to 2031.
It's official. The Dallas Mavericks are planning to buy 104 acres of land at the Old Valley View Mall site in North Dallas. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. It's for a possible new arena and entertainment district. The Valley View Mall site is near Preston Road and 635, just blocks away from the Galleria. The Mavericks' decision today is also noteworthy for where it's not.
Read the announcement carefully and you will notice what it does not say. The team did not buy the land. It entered into option agreements for a potential purchase, and it does not own the site. The old mall footprint is about 110 acres with 3 separate owners. The real estate trust holds just under a fifth of it. A local development family holds the majority. A fitness company holds the rest. The deal that became public covers the smallest of the 3. That distinction is going to decide everything that follows. Because when Cuban went to court over this, that single word is what his own partners used to answer him. On the 8th of July, Cuban's attorneys filed in Dallas County's 134th District Court. It was a Rule 202 petition, a request for a deposition before a lawsuit exists.
Mavericks are also making their move out of downtown Dallas, eyeing the Old Valley View Mall site for a future home. And this morning, team minority shareholder Mark Cuban is taking the current majority ownership to court over the relocation efforts. The filing includes claims from Cuban that Mavs governor Patrick Dumont didn't honor a handshake deal for Cuban to continue to run basketball operations after he sold his majority stake in the team in 2023.
He accused Dumont of adversarial business practices and of shutting him out of the arena plans. He was not asking for damages, he was asking to be told what was happening. The response, filed on the 31st of July, did not argue that Cuban had no rights. It argued that nothing had happened yet. Because the Valley View arrangement is an option and not a purchase, the team's lawyers wrote, there is no current business opportunity to present to him, and they said he had been told so. Cuban's side called that hard to believe, writing that it defies belief the options are purely exploratory. So one document says nothing has happened. Another document, the one the REIT had to file, shows money leaving the building every month. Both are true at the same time. There was a second fight underneath the first one, and it was about where the argument would happen. Cuban did not name the company that operates the Mavericks. He did not name the arena entity either. He named a third company, Arena Development Intermediate, the subsidiary the team set up to sign the land agreements. The 8K identifies it as a Delaware limited liability company, and the petition explains why he named it. He says he does not know who to sue. The entity was formed in Delaware, and Delaware does not require a company to disclose who owns it. That's the whole problem in one sentence. A man who owns 27% of the franchise cannot identify the parties on the other side of a deal. He says he was entitled to join, and he argues there is a clock on it that once the transaction closes, unwinding it will be difficult or impossible. The other side told the court exactly what they thought that was. They argued he picked that respondent specifically to get around the arbitration provision in his own agreements. They also objected to the press coverage the state court filing generated, which tells you what was actually at stake. Arbitration is private, no docket, no hearing anyone can sit in on, no reporter polling filings. A public courtroom was the whole point of filing in one. On the 6th of August, the judge decided. By then, the case had moved to the Texas Business Court in front of Judge Bill Whitehill. On the 6th of August, Whitehill granted the team's motion to send the dispute to arbitration and set a hearing for that Friday. Cuban lost the room, and late on the Monday before that hearing, his attorneys filed a notice of non-suit without prejudice and walked out. Their explanation is the most interesting document in this entire story. They wrote that rather than face a public hearing, the company had finally revealed what it had concealed: its corporate structure, its ultimate ownership, and its affiliate status. Having gotten that, they said, the petition had served its purpose. The judge dismissed the case, canceled Friday's hearing, and ordered each side to pay its own legal fees. Without prejudice means he can file again. His lawyer said plainly that he intends to stay informed and will use legal means if he has to. So he now knows who owns the company. He still does not know what he was owed. And that gap is not an accident, it's the deal. There is a fair reading on the other side, and it comes from a former Mavericks minority owner and team president, who has said Cuban sold majority ownership and control willingly and knew what he was doing. That's almost certainly right. But look at what it took for the price of that land to become public. Not a press release from the team, not a disclosure to the minority owner, a quarterly obligation belonging to a real estate trust that happened to own a piece of the property and had no choice. Nobody broke a rule here. An option is not a purchase. A private arbitration clause is enforceable. A subsidiary is allowed to be a subsidiary. That's the arrangement he signed. That is the fine print. We read it so you don't have to.